At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and it's been some odd times, obviously, in the comic book industry. It feels like everything's kind of risen up. Everyone's on edge right now. We've seen a lot of information about whisper networks. There's a lot of allegations about inappropriate behavior. Recently, the CEO of a comic book company basically had to be made to heel over his associations with people that people in the industry didn't like. And today we finally have one of the biggest creators in the entire industry essentially go attack one of his peers and try to lose him his job, is what it appeared like. And here to talk with me about this is my good friend, freelance writer, freelance editor, the High Sparrow himself, Aaron Sparrow. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going, Wes?
I'm doing pretty well. And if you're enjoying the content on the channel, make sure that you subscribe to Thinking Critical YouTube. Definitely give us a thumbs up, because the High Sparrow himself is going to be bringing the heat in this video, because I know you've got some feelings about Tom King and some of his behavior today.
Oh, yeah, I'm so pissed off about what happened today. I can't even. I'm so unbelievably pissed off. For those of you who did not see it, Tom King basically put out a tweet where he said, in response to DC releasing information, or releasing the image of Jay Lee's alternate cover for Rorschach #1, which Tom King is writing, and I put writing in quotation marks at this point. He basically put out a tweet saying Jay Lee is doing an alternate cover for Rorschach. Jay Lee does covers for Comicsgate, which is a hate group. As creators, we don't get to decide who works on our, on the covers of our books. But I've expressed my disappointment to DC, et cetera, et cetera. Just basically trying to get Jay Lee canceled, and trying to get himself some internet, some nice little internet hand jobs from the people that enjoy that sort of cancel culture bullshit. And the way that I discovered it was I went into the shop and I was going through messages, and I had a couple of people who were like, hey, Rorschach #1, there's a variant cover, Jay Lee. I want that instead of the main cover. I'm like, okay. Make a note of this. I got to order this. I'm looking through all of this. And then finally, one person actually screen captured Tom King's tweet and put it in there and said, I want you to order me 5 of the Jay Lee cover, and then I want you to cancel the book off of my pull list after that first issue. And I was like, I saw that.
That's suspicious.
Yeah. It's like basically, and I was like, okay, what? And I read the tweet and I was like, this can't be real. I should have known better. And so I went to Twitter and I looked and I saw it, and I was like, what in the hell? And I kind of lost it. And I went ahead and I put out a tweet and I just said, hey, DC, I didn't attack him. I didn't even tag Tom King, because I don't want to talk to the guy. After that, I got nothing to say to him. That kind of behavior is unacceptable. But I just put out a tweet to DC and I said, hey, DC, just so you know, I got a lot of people who want the Jay Lee cover. So whatever, I don't know what this, whatever this bullshit is, basically, I don't care. Listen to your customers. Print that cover so that I can sell it, was my tweet. And then just the rest of the day, I was just thinking about how ridiculous it is. And it got more ridiculous, but I'll let you, I'll let you tell the tale and then we'll go from there.
Well, it certainly did get more ridiculous. It obviously, when people's internet clout, even someone like Tom King, a big name writer, obviously a lot of people jump in there, basically send a hate mob after Jay Lee, who to my knowledge has never really done anything. All I know that he does is make art. Like, he doesn't cause controversy. He doesn't give crazy statements. He certainly hasn't proclaimed allegiance with one side or the other. I think he just wants to make art and get paid for doing it. And apparently somebody associated with Comicsgate had paid him to do a variant cover. I'm not really sure. I don't pay attention to that stuff. But it's kind of weird, but not unexpected, because I remember just a few weeks ago, for some internet clout, Tom King just decided to, for no reason, just start attacking Dean Cain on the internet. Obviously, he's also Asian American as well. He's attacking Jay Lee here. Do you think, does Tom King have something out against Asian people that are in the entertainment and comic industry or something? Or do you think it's just random that he's only attacking Asian people right now?
I don't know. Now I'm really tempted to go back and see what he had to say when Peter Samedi of Alterna was getting battered for daring to have a social media policy that said that you can't block chain customers. I'd be really interesting to see if he weighed in on that, because maybe we do have a pattern here of anti-Asian behavior.
Once is an event, twice is a trend, and three is a pattern. So I don't get it. Like I said, Jay Lee's not exactly known for going out there and saying outrageous things that he has to go and apologize for. But Tom King sure is known for going out there and apparently stirring up trouble right now, and just going to his bosses. That he obviously added DC Comics, said he went and contacted his bosses, talked about his issues with them. It's just so unprofessional. And apparently he didn't talk to him. We'll talk about how we know that here in a minute. You associate with people Tom King might not like. Do you think this is going to preclude you from ever getting employment with DC or a company associated with DC or Marvel because you've consorted with wrong thinkers now?
Oh, probably. I mean, fortunately, as I've said before on the channel, I don't have any particular need to work in the comic book industry. Obviously I love the medium. I love the characters. I have a lot of respect for, what's been done and what's come before. And, I would love to tell, great stories that entertain people, but I don't have to. And so, I mean, it's really one of those situations where, like the Joker in Dark Knight, there's nothing they can threaten me with, nothing with all to do with all their strength, and the strength is pretty pathetic. It's a very small industry. It's a very small pond that they're wielding this power over, and it's basically, I think it's going to get crazier as in the days ahead, both because I think, Tom King apparently likes that little dopamine hit of attacking somebody and then, feeling like he's a righteous man. So I think that, that will continue. But I think the other thing that's happening is, not so much for Tom King, but for these other people in the industry, the host is kind of dying. There's not as much work. I still don't think Marvel has really gone pencils up. I think they're just kind of like running out the clock on the, flood the shelves inventory that they had set before COVID. And now they're kind of taking a wait and see approach. So, a lot of these people probably can't pay their bills, and they're going to get more and more desperate and more angry. And their mental illness is going to, be even more intense as they try to just thrash around and destroy anyone they can or anyone they can pull down with them.
Well, and we know that like the PPP loans are going to be kind of running out soon. We know that Diamond still hasn't paid all the publishers the money that they owe them. Sales are likely down. Production is lower. We're not sure exactly how many customers have returned to the industry. So there's a good chance that we are going to be losing some jobs. So this job pool where people are competing for opportunities to make money and create stories for comic book heroes, it's going to become more competitive. And I absolutely agree with you. People, even like Tom King, obviously one of the bigger writers in the industry, is here taking shots at Jai Lee. I imagine we're going to see more desperation and more people just slinging arrows and stabbing people in the back as they try to keep their spot in the industry. Pretty sad.
The thing that really bothered me about the whole Tom King thing was later there was a tweet where he said that he got a hold of Lee. They talked it out. Lee, he's not on social media. He doesn't really know what Comicsgate is. So we're all good. And best possible outcome in this. Well, maybe the best possible outcome, Tom King, was that you contacted Jai Lee before you made this tweet and maybe asked him about the circumstances instead of going out there and just getting your fucking hit of internet clout, sending a social media mob after somebody who apparently did nothing, and you agree with it. Just a few hours later. He had the time, he had the means to go contact him, didn't do it, decided to go stab a fellow creator in the back, send a social media mob, but best possible outcome because Tom King is no longer concerned about Jai Lee. Right. And, the thing that really is upsetting is Warner Brothers has a human resources department. If you have a concern, you can take it to human resources. You can take it to the editor. There's various channels that you can go through. You don't go out on social media and just attack somebody when you don't know what the hell you're talking about, which is what happened here. Tom King had no idea what he was talking about. He made an assumption, and he went out and he tried to hurt a man's career. He could have destroyed Lee's career today. It was the most irresponsible thing that he could have done. Someone in a position of power at DC, as he is, to go out and do that, to behave that way. If I was in charge of DC, I would have fired him on the spot. I don't care how many issues of Strange Adventures or whatever he's moving. That is unacceptable. You cannot attack another employee that way, even a freelance employee. It is the most unprofessional thing in the world. You're opening yourself up. You're opening the company up to a lawsuit. It's unbelievable, and it just pisses me off that he had the absolute gall to go out and do this to another creator, a creator that has been in the industry for so much longer and has contributed so much more to this art form than Tom King ever will. It drives me insane.
The old adage about making assumptions. Obviously, Tom King made an enormous ass out of himself right here and was there for everyone to witness. And the worst part to me is he still hasn't deleted the original tweet with the accusation that got him all the internet clout and all that dopamine hit that he needed. Still, that one's still up there, so people can still read it. Maybe not see the follow-up tweet where he kind of clarifies things, where he actually did the right thing, went to him, talked to him man to man instead of just making baseless accusations and trying to hurt someone's career. But he's left that up because I'm going to be honest here. I do criticize Tom King's writing a lot here. I don't think he's a very good writer. I think he needs a better editor. I think he probably needs a little time off from writing to recharge his batteries and get something else to talk about rather than his depression. But when I see stuff like this, like, he's a piece of shit. And I'm with you. He should be fired. He shouldn't be fired because he's a bad writer. He should be fired because he's a bad employee. He went out there and tried to hurt a fellow creator for no reason other than he wanted to get some internet clout and wanted to get his name out there as being on the right side of right think. It just exposed himself. I always figured this is who he is, but we're definitely finding out this is absolutely who he is after his stupid no-need internet feud with Dean Cain that made him look like a jackass. And then after this, not only does he look like a jackass, he looks like a completely unprofessional hack that probably needs to be looking for a new job, needs to be future endeavored very soon.
Just the amount of liability that he opened DC and Warner Brothers up to. If something happened to Jay Lee, if he got doxxed, and just imagine, is it Jay or is it Jai? Am I pronouncing it wrong?
I thought it was Jai, but it might be Jay.
Okay, well, we'll say Jay and Jai. It'll be like a Han Han situation from Empire Strikes Back. What if Jai got doxxed, and he's a guy who's not on social media. He has no idea that this is going on. Somebody posts his address, and some nut job goes over there and hurts him or hurts his family. Just the liability that Tom King opened the company and Jai and his family, and just that the situation that he created through just his sheer hubris, thinking that he could just go out. He's just declared himself the sheriff of comics. And, I don't care if you're Comicsgate. I don't care if you're not Comicsgate. I judge people based on who they are as an individual. I don't care about your associations.
It's all about actions.
Yeah, I don't give a shit who you talk to. I talk to all kinds of people that I'm sure people are like, oh, I can't believe he's talking to them. Well, you know what? That's how things get resolved. That's how things get done. That's how you actually get somewhere with people, is you actually have conversations with people that you disagree with. But for Tom King to think that he can go out there and he can do this to another creator, he has been emboldened. This Dynamite situation where Dynamite had to bend the knee. And I'm going to tell you, I'll say something about Dynamite in a minute, because I do want to touch on that. But, he felt emboldened because of this. And he thought that he had the ability to go out and do this, to make himself feel good. He could attack somebody else. He could drag somebody else down. He could hurt somebody else's career. I don't know what is going on with him. I don't know what the deal is with his PTSD, his depression, whatever it is. But he needs to get some serious mental help if he thinks that it is okay to just go out and do this to a person.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And, just talking about like his career, he was in the CIA. He was a desk officer, I believe. So he's done investigative work and stuff like this. Obviously, I was also an intelligence analyst. I've worked through some 3-letter agencies as well. And you don't go out there and spray and pray allegations against people. You have to have multiple instances of information before you can start even making allegations, and then you take it to the proper authorities. So he knows that you can't just take hearsay or maybe an assumption and go out there and lay out allegations. As someone who's worked in that kind of industry before and makes himself look like a fool, supposedly he was a professional intelligence investigator. He's supposed to know that you go out and you talk to people. He could have talked to Jay, person to person, and got this information. And just to do that, it gets in my crawl. It makes me sick to my stomach that there's people out there. And you're right, he's the morality monitor of comic books now. You know what? How about you start writing good comics instead of depressing anybody that touches your comics? He hasn't had a good quality story since like issue 5 of Mr. Miracle. He basically torpedoed Batman. Thankfully, James Tynion has rescued that from him. Right now, Strange Adventures is going absolutely down the tubes. Nobody's excited for Rorschach besides that Jay Lee cover, because we know what he's going to do with Rorschach. And I think you and I are going to talk about that character a little bit next week. It's not like Tom King is riding high right now. He's got a lot of his own issues he needs to work on.
Yeah, he's got a lot of career issues to, he has to prove that he can stick the landing on a story. After City of Bane and Mr. Miracle and Heroes in Crisis, don't even get me started, that Scott Lobdell had to come in and try to fix. After those 3 bombs, he's got to like regroup and prove himself again. It's like you're always having to do that. You're only as good as your last work, and his last few things he's worked on have not delivered. As far as fans are concerned, and as far as sales are concerned, even, which I think is why you saw his Batman run get truncated, and you saw Tynion get brought in. And like you said, he's absolutely saving the book. He's telling Batman stories again, and it feels like Batman for the first time in God knows how long. But you know what? What really was the icing on this big turd sandwich here, if I can mix my metaphors, is that then Mitch Gerads came out and said, when Tom King reported that he talked to Jay Lee, and Mitch Gerads came out and said, "Oh, if people only knew what it took to make that conversation happen." And then, with a little thing of a little gif of, "Oh, you're a good lad." No, a good lad would have called first. He wouldn't have gone out with baseless accusations and tried to get a man canceled. That's what a good lad would have done. I don't care what he went through. I don't care if he had to train a carrier pigeon and send it off to wherever Jay Lee is, in order to get a hold of him. He should have done that first. I give him no points for that. And I know, Mitch Gerads is his buddy and his coworker, and and they're pals, and he's trying to back his friend's play, but he should have just stayed out of it, because that was just ridiculous. And the thing that's extra funny is everybody who points that out, who says, even just politely says, well, maybe he should have called first. They've been blocking. They've both just been blocking them. So more customers blocked, more customers upset. The industry is trying to come back from a major blow, and you've got pros out there opening you up for, possible liability, people possibly getting hurt or injured, and, less sales at comic book stores. Great job. Thanks. Really appreciate it, Tom King.
It's crazy that the timing, of course, couldn't be worse. Comic books need sales. They need interest from people. Tom King, whether we like it or not, he is a high level figure in the comic book industry. And if you're a new reader and you come in and that's what you're seeing, it's easy to just walk away. Why even invest if these are the types of pieces of shit in the industry that why would you even want to invest? This is bullshit that you see in middle school. This is bullshit middle school. He said, she said, talking behind people's back behavior. Except now he's doing it on social media. He's trying to ruin a man's career. He's trying to take away his ability to feed his family. I don't think that this is right. This should not go unnoticed by DC Comics. I know a lot of times they like to address these things behind the scenes. I imagine that's how they'll do it. Fuck me if they don't do something about it, because this is beyond the pale, in my opinion.
I think that Lee deserves a public apology. And I'm not one to demand public apologies. I'm like, yeah, you screwed up. You know what? Just don't do it next time. But this was beyond the pale. And I think that a public apology is definitely called for. I don't have any belief that it'll be sincere, but I think that he does need to be humbled. He does need to be brought, back to just decent human interaction, which is, hey, you went way out of line with this guy, and you need to humble yourself, and you need to you need to come correct, and you need to apologize for your behavior.
I certainly think that he needs to delete his Twitter and fucking get away from social media. He obviously doesn't have the mentality to be able to handle social media. He's getting way too out of hand. There's all kinds of weird shit on his Twitter. He barely even talks about comic books anymore. Even when he does, he tries to tie it into all this stuff, all this political crap, and try to take people out and just smear people. And it's stupid. It's a waste of time. It makes him look stupid. It certainly hurts the industry. And Tom King, get the fuck off Twitter, man. It's doing nobody any good, especially you. I mean, you're making yourself look like a jackass on a daily basis.
That's a really interesting point. If you've already got some mental issues that you're working through, if you're prone to depression, Twitter is the worst possible place for you. When I have bouts of depression, I stay away from social media. That's when you'll see me disagree for a while, or you disappear for a while. I'll just completely vanish for a few days or whatever while I'm working things out. Because if you're not feeling up to it, if you're not feeling strong, Twitter is the worst place for you. And I think that's what we're seeing here. Is we're just seeing people who don't have the ability to deal with all of that input and all of the negativity, and it's corrupting their soul and just turning them into colossal assholes online.
Well, it's certainly exposing them for the worst that they can be on any given day, and nobody wants to put that out there in public. And hopefully Tom King does what he can to make it right. Aaron, I appreciate you coming on the channel and talking about this. We are going to have you back on the channel for a few more topics, including that Rorschach discussion, and then in the next week or two. And really appreciate the time, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on.